are going now to Judges chapter 6. Judges chapter 6. And we're going to start today talking about a man named Gideon that maybe if you've been in church for a while, you know about Gideon, but if you don't, he's really an interesting guy. And as we go over these few weeks, as we're looking at his life, he's got some powerful things to say to us. And so this is going to be the time that we're going to be meeting him or be introduced to him. And it starts here in Judges chapter 6 and verse 1. The people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian overpowered Israel, and because of Midian, the people of Israel made for themselves the dens that are in the mountains and the caves and the strongholds. For whenever the Israelites planted crops, the Midianites and the Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. They would encamp against them and devour the produce of the land as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance in Israel, and no sheep or ox or donkey. For they would come with their livestock and their tents. They would come like locusts in number. Both they and their camels could not be counted, so that they laid waste the land as they came in. And Israel was brought very low because of Midian. And the people of Israel cried out for help to the Lord. There's nothing better you can do when you are in trouble than to cry out to God for help. When the people of Israel cried out to the Lord on the account of the Midianites, the Lord sent a prophet to the people of Israel. And he said to them, "Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, I led you up from Egypt, and I brought you out of the house of slavery. And I delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians, and from the hand of all who oppressed you, and drove them out before you, and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am the Lord your God. You shall not fear the God of the Amorites in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice." Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth, and that's a kind of tree, in Ophrah, which belongs to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." And Gideon said to him, "Please, my Lord, if the Lord's with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all of his wonderful deeds that our father recounted to us, saying, did not the Lord bring us from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us, and he's given us into the hand of Midian." And the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in this might of yours, and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Do I not send you?" And he said to him, "Please, Lord, how can I save Israel? Behold, I'm a loser." I've added that. "Behold, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." And the Lord said to him, "But I will be with you, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man." Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for speaking to us. In the midst of our crazy world, you speak truth to us that changes our lives. Thank you, God, for your word that is a sure foundation for us to stand on. And Lord, it's also a challenge for us to change and to move towards your purpose and plan. And Father, we want your word to do that today. Help us, God, to see that. We thank you for it in your name, Jesus. Amen. Well, last January, I started this project, and I've talked a little bit about it when I've been preaching to you guys, to kind of get us started. I've given y'all reports and stuff, and I'm proud to say this is done, but this whole garage restoration project of mine started because I had a light that blew out, and I couldn't get it fixed. And so I decided, well, I'm going to buy some new nice lights, some big 8-foot ones that I can put in the garage. And it'll really brighten it up. It'll be so nice in there. So I buy the lights. And I'm getting ready. I take them out of the box. I'm going to take the old ones down. And I look at the ceiling, and here's tape hanging down, from where a little moisture's got in over the years. And it's all this old popcorn ceiling stuff across there. And I thought, I can't put these beautiful new lights up on that ceiling. And so I start this process. Every time I had time over the next 2 months, I'm scraping popcorn down, I'm filling holes, I'm sanding, I fill more holes, I sand more, I put new tape up, I get all this done. Finally, a couple months in, it's time to hang my 2 8-foot lights. Well, you all know they got to be hung right. And they've got to be right beside each other, and one can't be like this and the other one like this, or I would never be able to park in my garage again because I couldn't look at that. It's got to be right. Y'all have that problem? And so they have to be right. And so I get up, I set my ladder up, and I get up on my ladder, and I get my pencil, and I'm ready to mark my ceiling. And so I'm up on this ladder, and I know that I need to go 11 feet and 7 inches. And so here I am, and this happens. That's not supposed to happen, because this is my lucky tape measure. And it's the one that I can still read the numbers on because it's big. And so I wind this thing back up. I think I just need to get it reset. That was just a bad beginning. If at first you don't succeed, tried again. And so this keeps happening. And I realize I'm in trouble because I want these lights up, and so I'm going to have to do something. So it immediately occurs to me, Lois is in the house, she's sick, and she can't come out and help me. And so I end up going over to my neighbor and asking him to come over and hold up the tape measure. And so the only reason those lights got hung that day was not because I bought them, not because I'd spent all that time on the ceiling, not because I had everything ready to go, but because somebody came over and held up a tape measure so I could get the measurements right. Now, I'm sharing this morning because we may not realize it, but our spiritual life, like so many other things, like that garage project, requires some help every now and then, doesn't it? We think, it's between Jesus and me, and it's nobody else's business. Well, I can tell you, you are on the way to failure in following God. Because we might as well realize right now, somebody probably before we ever got saved was praying for us, so you already got somebody involved in your life. Somebody shared the gospel with you. You probably had a number of people who shared the gospel with you. You had maybe somebody led you to the Lord outside of the church. Maybe you got saved in the church. Somebody was preaching the word on that Sunday. Somebody made you feel welcome when you came through the foyer. Somebody maybe said hi to you when you got in the church. They gave you a bulletin that somebody had put together. Maybe you listened to the worship and you're really into the worship. That takes a whole team. That takes somebody writing songs. That takes somebody producing songs. There's a lot of people involved in our spiritual life. And we may not realize it. But when we're on this focus that it's just Jesus and me and I don't care about anybody else, we're missing an important point. And that is God has ordained that this is a group project. That we are together, that we are united, and that we watch out for each other. And so we see this all through the Bible. There's so many miracles, there's so many things Jesus did that required everybody being involved. We love the story of the feeding of the 5,000, but Jesus, before he did anything, he told the disciples, get those people organized. They're just this big mob, put them into groups of 50 so we can have this nice and orderly. And so here's the disciples involved, and they're getting organization, and there's some little boy had to give up his lunch, and there was some mom who had to cook that lunch, and before ever, somebody had to find that lunch and put it into the hands of Jesus, and then as Jesus was breaking it, somebody had to go and serve it and hand it out, and then somebody had to clean up. And so these are all things that happen for this miracle, and miracle after miracle, and thing after thing in the Bible that we discover is this group project. Paul, as we read in Acts, was always with a team, always a group. And we're seeing this same concept being played out here in Judges. And Judges is a really interesting book. I don't know if you've read through Judges. I remember one time I was a young pastor, and I decided I was going to preach my way through Judges. So I always, when I'm going to do that, I sit down and I kind of lay out my sermons. And there's some nasty kind of stories in Judges. And I decided I wasn't going to preach out of Judges. I thought I'll just use it, periodically, because there's some things in here. I don't know that it's fit for a Sunday morning consumption, if that makes sense. And so that's maybe more of a private Bible study, some of these stories that leave you scratching your head. But it's really the story of what happens after Joshua dies, who led them into the promised land. They're going to serve God. They're going to be faithful. They make all these promises to God as we start Judges. But it's a story of how they don't follow through on their promises. And they turn their back on God, and they're going to do it their way. They're going to follow their own heart. And so God doesn't, we always think God's going to send lightning bolts down. He's going to strike them, and it's going to be, they're going to pay the price. You know what God did? He just kind of moved his hand of protection off of them. Okay, you're wanting to do this on your own. You're going to go your way. I'm going to lift my hand of protection. There's consequences that come in our lives when we choose to do things our own way. And we choose to ignore God. And so what we see in Judges is this often repeated pattern over and over again where the people turn their back on God and they decide to go their own way. And so God removes his hand of protection and some invader comes in. And so we see this as we get started in chapter 6 this morning. The people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And so we see this in Judges. The name of the oppressing nation changes, but the facts stay the same. They sin, God's protection's removed, they end up with some invading nation coming and just oppressing them and doing terrible things. And it's worth us taking just a moment here, maybe stepping a little bit out of where we're heading with this, and just talk about this oppression for a few moments, because I want us to see the cost of sin is really laid out here real clearly. Because as we read this, we discover that what ends up happening is Midian so oppresses them, these people end up having to move out of their homes, and they have to go into hiding, and they basically become homeless. So they're living up in the woods. They're digging little holes into the side of a mountain, making a little cave that they can hide in and be protected in. And so the sin in their life cost their home. And then every time it would be harvest time, here would come Midian and a bunch of other nations together and would take all their food and take all their livestock. And so their livelihood gets taken. How many people do you think have lost their jobs? They've lost their homes. They've lost their livelihood because of sin. And what does the devil tell us about sin when we're thinking about we're being tempted? Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to be hurt. Everything's going to be okay. No, it's not. There is a price to pay for sin. It's why we needed a Savior. So we wouldn't fall into the trap of sin. So God could give us something that the enemy couldn't have. And that's that life that belongs to us. And so here's Israel just showing us that sin has this cost. And it's interesting, the oppressing nation is Midian, because if we go back to where the Midianites come from, we make a shocking discovery. You know who the original Midian, who his dad was? You ready for this one? Abraham. And Israel came from who? Abraham. These two guys, centuries earlier, were brothers. And there's this history in the Old Testament as we read that when Moses was in trouble in Egypt and had to go on the run because they're trying to kill him, he goes to the land of Midian. And he ends up marrying a Midianite woman. So there's some of their DNA, even more, is entwined with Israel. And now here's Midian oppressing them and taking everything from them. So I'm just throwing this out to suggest to you that if you've got a toxic family that's making your life miserable, that's been happening for a long time. Okay? God's aware of it. Those people in the family that come and just make your life and steal from you and everything, yeah, that's in the Bible too. You're not unique. This has been going on for thousands of years. And so here they are. It's terrible. It's bad. They need freedom. And so sometimes it's amazing to me this goes on for 7 years before they start calling out to God. Now, how messed up are they in sin that it takes 7 years for them to realize, maybe it's time to go back to God. Maybe it's time to turn things around. And so this is what we see in verse 6. It says, and Israel was brought very low because of Midian. And the people of Israel cried out for help to the Lord. And so what ends up happening? Well, it's kind of interesting because basically from our text, Israel ends up going to church. And if you've messed up your life, there's a lot of places that you shouldn't go. But church is where you need to go. There's places that I hear people say, it can't get any worse than it is. I think I'm just going to get drunk. Oh, congratulations. You managed to make it worse. You found the way to do it. Nothing will make it worse. That's a multiplication of your misery. And so I hear people do these things, and it really is making it worse. But Israel's starting to wise up, and so they're ready to listen to God, and God sends a prophet. And he tells them, look, I told you that I was going to bless you, I was going to help you, just follow me, but you didn't do it. And you are in this place because of this. And so there's repentance that's involved here. This means they're ready to turn from their sin. They're ready to start a new day. But here's the problem. Midian is still there. Midian is still oppressing. Midian is still making trouble. And so they need help. This is something that they can't do by themselves on an individual level. You're not running off thousands of invaders who have completely dominated your life for 7 years on your own. It's going to take some help. And so who is God going to send? Well, this is where we get back to Gideon. And I just love how the story goes. Just kind of getting our mind here, the picture. Here's this angel comes and he sits down under a tree and he's watching this guy named Gideon at work. And what's he doing? He's beating out wheat, which is basically sifting wheat. Wheat's, we all know, is an important part of our diet. And wheat has this little husk, kind of thin shell that's over it, and you can't really use it till that shell's gone. And so the way they remove it is they just really kind of just whip it, they kind of beat it, and it'll get rid of that husk, and then the wind will blow it off. And because of that, it's important that they do this out in a big, wide open area because they want wind to come and to blow that little papery husk away. But Gideon is not in that place where it's wide open and where the husk can be blown away. Instead, he's in this small area that's kind of like almost like a horse's trough where they would tread out the grapes to make wine. And so he's in there, and we learn he's there to hide from the Midianites. He doesn't want to find them. The wheat harvest is at a different time of the year than the grape harvest, so he thinks, well, they won't be looking in the vineyards for me. And so I can hide in here, and if I'm real quiet, I'm going to just kind of beat this out, and then I can get out of here, and nobody will find me. And so unbeknownst to him, sits this angel sitting there watching him. Now, how many of y'all get scared when somebody suddenly talks to you, and you didn't know they were there? Where's Autumn? I have to be careful with Autumn here because I'll come around the corner talking, and I've scared that poor girl. She's 20 years older than she was when she started here about a year ago. But, it's natural. We get startled but we can tell when that happens that we're Pentecostal because sometimes we'll jump and dance. So here's Gideon thinking he's hiding. Nobody knows where he is. Angel sitting there watching him, and we're getting ready to launch a conversation. So this guy is going to jump out of his skin. And so how does the angel approach this? With a hearty greeting. The angel appeared to him and said to him, "The Lord's with you, O mighty man of valor." Now, let's just say this. I've heard people say sarcasm is not of God, it's not in the Bible, and that tells me you didn't read the Bible. Because there's a lot of sarcasm in the Bible, but this is not sarcasm. This is something else. This is God recognizing what he had put to Gideon when he was formed in his mother's womb. This is God recognizing the call and purpose that is on Gideon's life, whether or not Gideon is aware that it is there. And so often we think that what we know about ourselves is all there is to know. This is who we are. This is what we're about. But can we be open and believe that maybe God's got some things in us that have yet to be revealed, that have yet to be discovered, that have yet to be found, that there are things in us, there's giftings, there's abilities, there's talents, and there's things that God will just plain on just drop into us as it's needed if we'll trust God and if we'll let God. And so the angel's not speaking sarcastically to a guy in hiding, quietly whipping out the wheat to get the husk off. He's instead speaking to a man that God made to deliver a nation. And so what happens from this? Where do you go after that introduction? Well, Gideon chooses to take it in the direction of arguing with this angel and basically telling him, you got no idea what you're talking about. You have missed it. I am not the guy you think I am. Forget what you were saying. I am not mighty, and I am not a person of valor. The only thing you have right out of those three things, mighty man of valor, is I'm a man. That's it. Now go away. And we see these arguments. There's two arguments that he gives that really sound kind of familiar to me, because this first one is basically blaming God for the problems and saying, this isn't my problem, this isn't my fault, this is God's fault, so why are you expecting me to do something about it? And we see this in this response. And Gideon said to him, please, my Lord, if the Lord's with us, then why has this happened to us? And where are all these wonderful deeds that our fathers recounted to us, saying, did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord's forsaken us and given us into the hand of Midian. Now remember what I said about sarcasm being in the Bible? And I said what the angel said wasn't sarcasm. Well, Gideon's bringing sarcasm into the picture. And he's just getting kind of smart alecky with this angel. And he says, why you want me to do something? Look what God's done to us. This is a God problem. This isn't my problem. Why am I going to be able to do something? And I want us to hear this, because I want us to realize that very often there are people who are being robbed of the ministry potential that have been given to God because they have joined the seat of the cynical that are sitting there pointing fingers at everybody and everything, including God, and it is robbing them of the opportunity to make a difference. And I see a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people over the years that have blamed God for every problem that they have got. It's not their sin, it's not their poor choices, it's not the dumb things that they've done. Oh, it's all God. And then I've heard people who had good reason. They've had bad things that have happened to them. They've got good reason to be able to say, you know, I've been victimized by my parents, or by my health, or by my finances, or by this, or by that, and by my neighbors, or whoever, my job. And they go on with this list of things that have gotten in the way and got them at this place where they're locked in and they can't be free and they can't get this new day. And if we're not careful, that ends up becoming a wall that will keep us from standing up and doing anything about what God's calling us to do something about. Why would I want to help them? Why would I believe that God's going to change it? Why would I believe? And so this is a cynical comment that's coming that has been this wall of protection. It is his excuse to keep from being used by God. And so what does God say to him? And I love this, because God doesn't say, oh, Gideon, man, come here for a hug. Come here. You've had it rough. You've had it, come over here. Come on, let's sit down. Will you hold this tape measure in for me first, though, just for a second? Sit down, let's cry together. What's the angel say? Go in the might that you've got and save Israel. Quit sitting around saying, well, it's because of this, because of that. I can't do it because of this person, this thing. God did this, God did that. All these things are against me. The angel just says, stand up, do something. You're called. And I want us to know something right now. If we are a follower of Jesus Christ, we are called to be an ambassador of Jesus Christ. We are called to be people who make a difference. And every time we're sitting around with all this, everybody's done me wrong, and this person did this, and this person, they said mean things to me, so I don't get around those people, and I don't go to church, I don't do this, everybody's just been picking on me. Well, you are robbing yourself of the call that God has placed on your life, and you sound like people in the world. Do you believe we're supposed to talk different than people who are in the world? Should there be something significant in the way we view and see things? Yes, there should. And what it should begin with is realizing that we do not have the luxury of just bowing out, blaming everybody, and doing nothing because God's called us to do something. Well, okay, God told him to get his might together and get moving, so that's not going to work. And so why not come up with another excuse to let God know that he's wrong and he can't use it? And this is the loser excuse that we were talking about. He said to him, please, Lord, how can I save Israel? Look at how poor I am. We're the weakest family in our clan, and I'm the least in my father's house. And so here he is again. And this one's kind of funny if you think about it, because we just started out in Genesis 6, and it says what about Gideon? It says that or about Israel, for 7 years, the Midianites have taken everything they've had. And they've lost their homes. They've lost their fields. They've lost their crops. Does this sound like an environment where there's some Rockefellers around the corner? This is a nation in poverty. The whole nation's been crushed. Nobody has anything. And it's because they're all crushed and they've got nothing that God's getting ready to raise up somebody who's going to make a difference and who's going to do something. Well, but I'm the poorest. No, you're not. Everybody's poor. Well, I'm the least in my everybody's the least in the family. We're all together. We're all in trouble here. And sometimes we can get feeling so sorry for ourselves. And we can get ourselves to such a low place that we take ourselves out of the running to be used by God because of the self-pity that we wrap ourselves in. And I've said this before, and I hope we get this. I've been through some things in my life, and you know, I've been angry about it, and I've got upset about it, and the thing that, you know, I kind of moved through those, but I get to this place then where I'd started feeling sorry for myself. And I decided it feels good to feel sorry for yourself. It feels amazingly good. It's like a nice warm blanket wrapped around you. Poor me, so suffering, so terrible, it just hurts, poor me. And we talk to people, we let them know how poor and pitiful we are. And I realized one day, God showed me, Jeff, you thought got a warm blanket around you. This has become a straitjacket that's keeping me from using you. And you've got to realize that you're going to have to start trusting me instead of sitting there and doing nothing and just wrapping this self-pity around yourself. God calls us to live beyond self-pity. And I want to challenge you, if you're there, hey, I'm not throwing rocks at you, because we've all been there. We all get it. We all come to these places, especially if we've been in something that's lasted for a long time and it just seems like we get bad news and more bad news. It's easy to start feeling sorry for ourselves. But if we're going to be used by God, we got to get over this. We're going to have to realize, you know, I've got to start trusting God. I got to start hearing from God. And what does God say to him? Once again, God doesn't say, oh, come here and let me give you a hug. Instead, he says, but I'll be with you. And you shall strike the Midians as one man. What's he saying? He's saying, quit thinking about what you do not have. Quit thinking about what you've lost. Quit thinking about the things that have held you down. And realize what you do have. Because I am the maker of heaven and earth. I spoke a word and those things came into existence. The sun that you enjoy every morning, I sent that. I hung that sun in the place. I created the seasons that you see. I created all that is, all this livestock, all these things, everything you need has come from me. I am the one that will fight your battles. I am the one that will provide for your need. And you may think you've got nothing, but you've got me and you've got more than enough. See, so often we're looking at other people and we're thinking, well, they can do it better than me. They've got this, they've got that. Look how wonderful. You know, God didn't call them. He called us. And He's told us that He is going to be with us. And this morning as I'm sharing this, it's not because I'm wanting you guys to get up and invade Midian. Aren't you glad for that? But I would like to get you out of the wine press. Now, that could be an anti-alcohol sermon, right? I'll have to remember that. I want to get us out of hiding. I want us to believe that God's got something for us to do. And maybe it's not this huge thing. I meet some people that only do huge things, or they're only wanting to do huge things. But maybe getting out of hiding just starts by saying, you know, I could hand out some bulletins. I can help over in children's church. I can help in the nursery. If you can, we want to talk to you. We got some beautiful babies you need to meet. Maybe you're thinking, I can help be a leader with the youth ministry. I can just be somebody that helps clean up after a dinner. I can be somebody who helps get a dinner together. I can be somebody who can be a part of a ministry. I can be part of a Sunday school class. I can do this. The thing is, we all need to do something. We're all called to something. We're all part of a family that's got some job in front of them. Have you ever seen one of these families? Maybe I probably shouldn't use this illustration, but I'm going to. I've invested too much in this already. But you see these families, you know, there's a big dinner and everybody's working, they're putting stuff on the table, and there's the one person just laying on the sofa the whole time. Don't be that person. God doesn't call anybody to lay on the sofa while everybody does the work for you. He calls us to be a family who's committed to making a difference in this world as we each stand together and begin to serve God. We say our job, our mission as a church is to raise up a godly generation. How's that going to happen? It's not going to happen because we go, that's our job, I'm going home, don't bother me. It's by us saying, I will do what I can do. Let me know. I'm ready to serve. I'm ready. I'm not going to be hiding where nobody can find me, but I'm going to give it a try. And somebody says, oh, I just, you know, that's not in my comfort zone to do anything. Really? You spent your whole life doing nothing? You know, maybe there's very few things that actually are in our comfort zone when we start. But it's amazing how God can grow us as we get out of the wine press and move out into the open, and we begin to say, yes, God, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm ready. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a Gideon. I'm going to believe when God speaks to me, I'm going to believe that God wants to use me. We always love this scripture out of Romans chapter 8. We're going through Romans 8 right now on our Wednesday Bible study. We've been walking through Romans, and I always love this one of the last verses in Romans 8. It's this verse, no, and all these things were more than conquerors through Him who loved us. If we're more than conquerors, we can do what God gives us to do. And so I just want to challenge you. Believe that God doesn't only want to save you, but He wants to use you to make a difference. He has ordained you to be a part of His team. And say yes to God as He challenges you for that. And we'll talk more about what that looks like over the next couple weeks. Will you bow your heads with me across this building? And we're going to start out with the most important thing that we can ask. And that is, where are you with God right now? Where is your heart? Where is your commitment to Him? Have you maybe been like Israel, just kind of doing your own thing, and you're here at a place because you're just desperate to see a change? Maybe you're not as bad as where Israel was at that point, but you can see it's not going so great. And there's got to be some changes in your life. And you know that today, God is calling you to a different life in a better way. I just wonder, is there anybody here this morning? I'll just lift your hand and say, Pastor Jeff, I'm not where I need to be, but today I want to make things right with God. If you're watching on live stream, you can right now just raise your hand wherever you may be right now. Maybe in your home, you may be in your car, you can be at work, wherever you may be. You can just raise your hand there and just say, I want to change. I want to make a difference. Amen. God sees these hands. He sees our heart. He sees that we're ready to start doing it God's way. Amen. A number of hands have gone up. I'm believing the same's true on live stream. And we're going to, amen, I see another hand. Amen. God's speaking to us today. We've been praying, believing that God is getting ready to grow His kingdom here in Ocala, and that there's people He's wanting to come in and to be a part of this family. And so you are here as an answer to prayer. And maybe you've been praying for a change in your life. This is it. This is your beginning. And we're going to say a prayer right now. As we say this prayer together, this will be the start of you being a follower of Jesus Christ. Will you pray with me? Heavenly Father, I have made mistakes. I've done things wrong. Forgive me for every one of them. I need a new day, and that only comes through you. Help me to live the life that you're calling me to. Thank you for this new beginning. In your name, Jesus.